शिवोऽहं 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 शिवोऽहम्.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's meeting. And warm greetings from Adia to all sisters and brothers who are joining us today from all over India. Thank you for your presence. Welcome to this talk of Brother Dr.M.A.Raveendran on esoteric aspect of Bharat Samaj Puja that is being organized today as a part of an effort to take the opportunity given by this pandemic to spread theosophical teachings. But before we proceed, we request everyone to keep your microphone muted during the talk. And if you have any questions, kindly note them down and ask them at the end of of the talk or write them in the chat box. Thank you for your cooperation in this aspect. And as always, let us start our gathering with the universal invocation, indicating and inspiring the unity in diversity and oneness of life, followed by few moments of silence. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature,
prayer.
O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are also one with every other. Good evening once again, and it is our great pleasure to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. M.A.Raveendran. And before I introduce him, I would like to share the history about today's talk that we organized, because we have been planning this for many months now. And in about January or February, when we thought whom to contact, so the name of Dr. Raveendran came to mind, and when we contacted him, he immediately said yes, because this is a subject of Bharat Samaj Puja that I think in India at least, many of the federations and lodges and individuals are conducting this puja every week, if not every day, in their daily life. And it is very important for us to understand the hidden meaning of this ritual, because in the light of theosophy, when we study something, the hidden meaning of something, some ritual, the effect of it, the energy to do it increases incredibly. And to add to our happiness or pleasure, what we are going to share at the end of the talk, that next week, next Saturday, that is 1st of May 2021, there will be an event which will be live, which can be viewed live on YouTube, where in the morning 6 o'clock we will be having live puja, live streaming of Bharat Samaj Puja from Theosophical Society Adiyar, from the Bharat Samaj Temple. That will be done among with Brother Umakant Rao, Dr. Revati ji and others. And same day in the evening, 6 o'clock Indian time, There will be about 1.5 hours program, a presentation based on the significance of the temple and significance of the puja. So I request all those who are present today and others to whom you can convey that from on 1st of May, please try to attend that event in the morning 6 a.m. and in the evening 6 p.m. also. Now coming back to our today's talk about esoteric aspect of Bharat Samaj Puja, the speaker for which is our Dr.M.A. Raveendran, who was born in 1954, Trichur, Kerala, and he, after doing his MBBS and MD in general medicine, he joined medical education services, and he retired as a professor of medicine and principal. Now he is working in GMC Palakkad, and he joined the Theosophical Society in 1982 and a regular attendee of the International Conventions of Theosophical Society. He is a member of Upasika Lodge Trichur, Kerala, and the president of the Kerala Theosophical Federation. And the idea of requesting him or inviting him for this talk was many years before. During one of the conventions that I was attending, in an informal talk, he explained a part of the esoteric aspect of Bharat Samaj Puja to me individually. And since then, there was this wish to listen to him completely. And today, I guess we have this opportunity to listen to him. I will be sharing the PowerPoint and he will be explaining it. And his subject for today, as I said, has the interest of many within India and without. And without further ado, I welcome Brother Dr. Raveendran, Dr.M.A. Raveendran, who will share with us through his PowerPoint presentation the hidden aspect, the esoteric aspect of Bharat Samaj Puja. Dr. Raveendran, please.
Thank you, Brother Shigar, for the nice words. Brothers and sisters, I thank the organizers for giving me this unique opportunity to talk on Bharat Samaj Puja. We know that in Theosophic Society, we have few rituals which everybody knows of. The most important is the order of the mystic star, in which how the world teachers practically one after another came and taught the humanity. And it ends with, that's Lord Maitreya. Now we have the order of round table and the ceremony concerned with the liberal Catholic Church, the Masonic ceremonies, and
Cannot see anything.
we have the Bharat Samaj Puja. Generally, Bharat Samaj Puja is known as, next slide. The Bharat Samaj Puja is known as a Hindu ritual, usually concerned with the Sandhya. But it is much more than that, because this puja came into existence after the Theosophic Society, where SPB has written her sacred doctrine, which practically mentions about two important aspects, that is the cosmogenesis and anthropogenesis. So we have to take the message given in those volumes, because the inner hierarchy, the masters, of which Lord Maitreya also is a member, and who also use probably there's this opportunity to give the same teaching through a ceremonial form. That is what I think, because the first pujari was no other than J. Krishnamurti. And we know that it is predicted even in 1912 that Lord Maitreya will take his body for giving the right message to the world in the future. So with this introduction, I will go to the slides. The Bharat Samaj, the objects of the association were to study the scheme of Hindu rituals, to adapt the same to modern needs and conditions, and to provide for their proper performance, and generally to spiritualize Hindu life and thought, and to promote harmony and goodwill. Next slide. The first Bharat Samaj conference was conducted in Mysore on October 1st, 1922. Mr. A. Varadaraja was the president of the conference. And they started a magazine, a journal also in 1922, which was well known at that time, called Bharat Dharma. Next slide. There was a suggestion that in Adyar, every religion should have its own shrine. So based on that idea, Bharat Samaja thought of building a temple in Adyar. And it took nearly 3 years to build the temple. And the temple was consecrated on 21st December 1925. I think the dates are very, very important for me, for the thing I mentioned last time. Because in 1925, on the way to Adyar, J. Krishnamurti knew that his brother is no more. That is in October. And practically still, people say that he was shattered. All his concept about the theosophical teachings, everything was gone. And he was an entirely renewed man by the time he reached Chennai. But we know that in December 21, in 1925, he was the first pujari for this particular puja. And in December 28, 1925, it is first recorded that for the first time, Maitreya talked through him, I am coming. So these dates are very, very crucial because it is not unexpected that JK was the first pujari. Because I feel that Lord Maitreya gave the message of the anthropogenesis as taught in sacred doctrine through a ceremony to the world. Next slide. This is the Bharat Dharma, the publication. That was the second issue of the first volume. I have one old issue with me. Next slide. Sanatana Dharma, that is the truths of Sanatana Dharma has to be widely known. That was one of the objects of Bharat Samaj. The important things are one, immanence and transcendence of the one supreme being, the source of all. Continuous evolution towards perfection as within the purpose of Ishvara, the Lord of our universe. Next slide. There is a hierarchy of developed beings, including Devas and Rishis, who are working to carry out the divine purpose in accordance with the laws, which are the expressions of the divine nature. We have to know that man is not the only being who inherits earth. There are so many streams of life. And C.W. Leadbeater, in his Hidden Side of Things, describes all the streams of evolution, which at the same time occupies the earth. Then reincarnation karma has to be popularized as the factors regulating the human evolution. And SPB in her Key to Theosophy also mentions that this has to be popularized. Then the brotherhood of humanity and the essential solidarity of his interest as a whole So these are the important things. Now, next slide. We'll come to the ritual. What is a ritual? Any ritual is an ordered activity which imparts universal truths through allegory and correspondence. Any ceremony, not only the usual puja, but also the Masonic ceremonies and also other, particularly uses the same form. It takes into consideration of the numerous hierarchies of beings, includes elementals, devas, and activities of their controlling hierarchies. We know that this is mentioned very well in our literature. For example, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions that those who are attached to the Buddhas, they go to the Buddhas, the elementals. Those who are attached to the Devas, he goes to them. And those who are attached to the Pidris go to them. And those who are really attached to me comes to me. So it mentions that in our constitution, it's a big complex. And all these hierarchies, that's including the elementals, devas, and their controlling hierarchies are part of us. And symbolically, the great elements of earth, water, fire, and air are used to represent not only the elemental kingdoms, but also the devas and their controlling hierarchies, which is related to man. Next slide. I want to mention specifically that Bharat Samaj Puja can be interpreted at different levels, but I would present this as symbolism of how a human being was created. It is in accordance with the anthropogenesis in sacred doctrine by H.P. Blavatsky. It is specifically mentioned that in the esoteric tenets that man is a microcosm. It is mentioned as the 4 basic ideas in Isis Unveiled, and also in sacred doctrine extensively. Man is a microcosm. Everything in the universe is contained in him. This implies that all the elements, elementals, devas, and hierarchies are part of his body, the physical, emotional, mental, and causal body. He is in reality the controlling spark, one with the highest in essence, who have everything else as his body. So man is that entity, theoretically saying he belongs to the 4th hierarchy, who uses all the other hierarchies as his body and works through him, through them. So that is why it is said that even in Bible, after creation of man, God placed all the animals before him and asked him to name. And also it is said that man is the perfection in the universe. It means that everything in the universe is part of him. That is why he becomes the supreme. Next slide. The story of creation as given in our Brahma Purana, as a part of the day. When Brahma contemplated creation, Asuras was created from his midnight body. It is said that they were the highest spiritual beings who refused to assist him in the creative process. So they were the highest, called the Kumaras. From his daytime body, that is a noon body, it was created the Devas, who are generally known as the Lord of Flames or Agnishtwas, or generally called solar Pitris. Then from his evening time body was created the Barhishas or lunar Pitris. And it is said that all these three groups created man who represents dawn. Now, what is given in sacred doctrine, this also is mentioned, but it is given in a much more compact form, because we know that our earth system, practically there's the earth chain. It is the, yes, the chain has practically that's a 7 thing, and man is in the, we are in the 4th practically. So in the first chain, those who are perfected were the Asuras. In the second chain, those who got perfected were the solar Pitris. In the third chain, those who got perfections were the lunar Pitris, who gave their Chaya bodies to us so that we became this man in the 4th chain. So the 4 chains, practically all are interconnected. The highest beings practically help in assisting the lower. It goes on, goes on, goes on. So practically, so far all the 3 chains before the earth chain has helped to create man in the 4th chain. So that is the interrelation between us and the other higher beings. And these hierarchies and the lords, they were practically far above man. They were perfected men as having opted to do certain particular specific job for the logos, which we will take when we complete our 7th round. But we are only in the 4th round and we are in the 5th race. So similarly, we are in the 4th round. That's we have perfected our 4 principles: the physical body, the prana, pranamaya kosha, and our desires. Our mind is yet to be perfected. And we'll perfect all the others and become the status of the lunar Pitris, that level, when we complete this chain. Next slide. Now, it is very well mentioned that there is a stanza in the sacred doctrine. The earth provided the coverings for the physical body for man. The lunar Pitris, who represents, that is a direction is the mystic west, and is symbolized by water, who projected their Chaya bodies to create man. And it is the lower solar Pitris who provided the rudimentary mind to man and fanned it, represented by the fire. These are our lower 4 bodies, and the higher 3 can be stimulated only by those who works at the higher level, that is at the level of higher mind, or we can say it is at the buddhic level, that is the Kumaras, who took incarnation in the crude human animal body or projected their mind partly to make a causal body for man and made him immortal. So earlier, the 3 stages, man was just like an animal. He had a physical body, he had a crude emotional being, he had a crude mind, but he was an animal only, and he was a mortal. He was never immortal because the higher aspect of our, that is the so-called our causal body, was not prepared at that time. And it is the Kumaras or the higher Agnishtwas who practically helped man to have his higher mind and the buddhi aspects practically soldered with our lower nature in order to make man an immortal being. And that is how we have become immortal. So man is an immortal, just like his creator. And man practically owes everything to those who created us. That is why this ceremony becomes more important. Next slide. Earth built a physical body. Lunar Pitris are the sixth creative hierarchy, provided all the other principles below the manas. Solar Pitris, part of the lower fifth creative hierarchy, they practically contribute to part of the lower mind, the animal mind. The Manasaputras belong to the Capricorn. That is it is said that they are the Makaras. Makara means 5 limbs. They represent the spiritual preceptors, the fifth creative hierarchy. There's one in the higher mind, one in with our intuition. That is our buddhi. The mind attached to the buddhi. These are the aspect of the Manasaputras who practically represents our real spiritual evolution. Man is in reality the fourth creative hierarchy, in essence, who have everything else in his universe as his body. Next slide. Now we'll go to the ceremony proper. It takes only 25 minutes to perform the puja. So anybody who can, to some extent by heart, or even they say go and read this thing, can study the puja and do it. Now, as said earlier, that say this ceremony that said before this talk, that was started with the particular chanting. That is the first thing which is done. That's in puja also. The person assumes that he is the Lord of creation. In the chanting which is said that, he has got that particular thing, Shivoham, Shivoham, I am Shiva. That particular kind of consciousness is what is needed for a person to do a puja. That is one. Second is he is purified physically and mentally. Certain hymns are chanted and he is practically made free from all the sins committed. And that is what is taken. And he is given some water to consecrate it. And by on drinking that after the mantras, it is assumed that it makes him free from all the sins committed. Now, in any ceremony, the participation of the devas are needed. We are not expected to go to the elementals directly because that is sometimes it is very difficult to control elementals directly, but through the devas and the mantras, it is easy to control the elementals and elements. So practically, we initially invoke, that is, the elementals to go out, the troublemaking elementals to go out, and devas are asked to come in, and bells sounded in the name of Shiva. That is the fourth part. And fifth part is whenever creation begins, the area to be created, that is, it is decided by the logos. The solar logos first decides what is the extent of his activity. And here also, in a puja also, what is the extent of the activity, it is decided, and it is done by the process called tiling. It is done by a mantra that's Om Bhur Bhuvaswa. Next slide. So we have already assumed that we are going to be a creative process, do a creative process, and then we have assumed that we are all perfect. we decided our area of activity, and then we are first purifying the vehicles in our own constitution. The first what is done is it is purified by incense. The usual incense is burnt, and it is intended to purify our causal body. So people may ask why it is causal body, because in the mantras that's mentioned there, especially that's there, that's in the, especially that's it is mentioned that's in the lords of the 5 gates of the causal body is mentioned in the mantra. Yena deva pavitrena atmanam punade sada tena sahasradharena pavamanya punanduma. And then it is mentioned, the names of the 5 lords are mentioned. And it is mentioned in the Narayana Swami Ayers 32 Vidyas. He describes the structure of the causal body and mentions that there are 5 gates in the causal body. And practically, these 5 gates are practically guarded by the Devas, and they are actually purified. Indra Sunidhi Sahama Punadu, Soma Swastya Varuna Samichya Yamora Raja Pramanabi Punaduma Jada Veda Morjendya Punadu. The 5 lords are invoked, and it is followed by the Gayatri Mantra for the first time. We'll come to the Gayatri Mantra later. Now, once the causal bodies came, next down, it is the fire that is concerned with our mental body. And the fire is kindled, and the higher solar Deva kings are invoked. And there are 3 numbers. Let's say they are Agnaye Swaha, Naye Idam Namama, Suryaya Swaha, Suryaya Idam Namama, Prajapatiye Swaha, Prajapatiye Idam Namama. These 3, Agni, Surya, and Prajapati, these 3 are given wicks and ghee. And in the ceremony, that's what is being done is the cosmic mental aspect of Mithran is invoked in detail. Before that, Agni is also invoked, let's say, because Agni has got a very unique place in the constitution of man, because he is considered as the lord of the terrestrial, cosmic terrestrial being in the 5th plane, and he is invoked. That is Agni Naya Subhada Raya Asman, etc. It is one of the most powerful mantra in the Ishavasya Upanishad. The closing prayer, practically, we ask the Agni to guide us. Following that, the Mithran is invoked. And then the Gayatri Mantra is chanted for the 2nd time. And meanwhile, the ash from the fire is used, is distributed, and everybody touches the ash in their vital centers from the highest to the all the other body parts. I am not going into the details. Next slide. Now the 3rd one, the causal body is over, mental body is over. Next down is the astral body, and there water is poured from one vessel to another, and the lunar pitris, who constitute most of the lower man, are invoked. The life-preserving power of Varuna is remembered in the famous mantra given to Shunatshebam by Rishi Vishwamitra. You might have heard about that story. That is Harishchandran, that's got a son, that's very late. And the contract was with Varuna was that at the age of 16, he will be given back to Varuna. But Harishchandran refused to do that. And then he practically purchased one of the sons of a Rishi, Chunashevan, the middle son, and practically that's decided to give it to Varuna in exchange of his son. But Vishwamitra knew that, and he came to the scene and practically gave Chunashevan this mandram, Imamme Varuna Sudhi Havamadhya Chamradaya, etc. So that by the time the Varunan came, he chanted this mantra. Varunan was pleased, so that he spared Chunashevan and practically took off the son of Harishchandra. SPB has described this beautiful story in her, one of the stories is the Blue Lotus. Yes. Now, in this ceremony, there's all the pranas and our kochas are remembered. Water is flinging 8 directions during the Masandras. And now, one of the important things to remember is that this invocation of the Agni, Surya, and also Varuna comes again in the next ceremony. That's when sun is invoked, because sun has got a unique aspect, because he is considered as the eye of these 3, Agni, Varuna, and also Mitra. Chakshur Mitrasya Varunasya Agni. That is the description. So it is remembered again. So after this water also, the Gayatri is chanted again. So practically we have completed the lower man, including his, to some extent, the causal body. Next slide. Now, what is used is the Deepam, light, the lamp. It is used as a symbol of Atman in man and in the universe represented by sun. The Pujari, there's a small flame is kindled from the bigger lamp in the temple and then turns to east and looking at the rising sun, because in the early morning you can see the sun and recite the mantras. That is what is happening. And at the end of these mantras, this small flame is returned back to the origin, to the bigger lamp in the temple. And it is assumed that we have started our evolution from there and we are returning to the same. That is a symbolism here. Here, in detail, the sun is invoked as Chakshur Mitrasya Varunasya Agni. That is as the lord of the 3 cosmic planes. The terrestrial plane, that is Agni, cosmic astral, that is Varuna, and cosmic mental, that is the Mitra. And Gayatri is again chanted for the 4th. Next slide. Then comes the other aspect, that is the Hiranyagarbha aspect, that is concerned with the Lord of the Swapna aspect of consciousness. It is also called, as you know, it starts with the Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, so it is also the Purusha Suktam. Now, in this particular aspect, the camphor is the thing which is lighted and everybody stands and practically recites all the mantras. And one of the important aspect of this is, it is the Purusha Sukta aspect is mentioned and the Hiranyagarbha aspect of the Lord. Now here it is considered as the Shiva. This mentioned that it is Nilakantaya, Mrityunjayaya, Sarveshwaraya, Sada Shivaya, Sriman Mahadevaya Nama. So it is to some extent that as the Shiva, because there is another mantra which follows, which is as the Mahanarayana Suktam, because in the Shaiva, the Vaishnava tradition, there's the Narayana is considered as the highest aspect, and next is just below that, and probably that is the reason why it comes to be in this form. And Lord Shiva is invoked in the stanzas with various names. And after that, we go to the next stage. Next slide. That is the meditation with flowers. Flower is a symbol of our heart. Next slide. Flower is a symbol of our heart, where deep inside secretly reside the logos in our Hridayagasham. It is known that he resides secretly in everybody. So it is given in other ceremonies also, including the meaning of INRI. That is he reigns within us. That's the Lord, highest Lord resides within us is a well-known thing in every traditions. So he is recited as with the flowers, and many words are used with all shades of meaning for the highest. And it is said that he is remembered as the Paramam Padam, Vishnu Paramam Padam. That is, it is the ultimate abode, the possible ultimate, omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent Lord. And he practically represents the form of the world. So this is it is known as the Mahanarayana Sukta, which represents the Prajna aspect of the Logos. And this is the invocation of the highest which is possible. Next slide. By this time, the ceremony is over, and now we are going to the Naivedyam aspect. The Naivedyam is the consecrated water. Water was kept earlier after purifying it with invoking Varuna, and it is kept in the vessel there. And at this point, the water is again taken, and the Pujari blesses that particular thing. Gayatri Mantra is chanted for the 5th time in a very low voice, and all the pranas are invoked, and very slowly a practically mantra is mentioned, Deva Savida Prasuva. Let the Lord be born here. The Lord, we know, he is the fire, highest aspect. And what is remaining is water. So the fire entering the water, that is our two constitution, the upgoing fire, roaring fire, and the water. These are the two aspects which are there. And we are practically asking the Deva to come to the water. You know, the birth of Subramanya is something like that. It is the fire of Shiva practically joins the water. In the many other traditions, including the Rosicrucian, it is mentioned, the flowing water and roaring fire are contrary to each other. But those who can reconcile the two has nothing more to learn. So this is the highest mystery. It is to some extent the mystery also that's in the bread and the wine of the Christian ceremony. Christ is invoked. So this is done, and then after this, the water is distributed to all those people who are participating to share the blessings. Next slide. Next slide is we have already decided that's our area of activity. It is called tiling. In the physical ceremonies, practically somebody is there to guard the precincts. Now here, untiling is done mentally reciting another mantra. It is a reverse of the three. Bhur, Bhuva, Swa is the three area. Bhur is the earth, Bhuva is the intermediate thing, and Swa is the Devajan or Sorlogam. And here, untiling is done by placing Om in the latter part of this thing. Like Bhur, Bhuva, Swa, Om. The tiling we do is Om is placed in the beginning. And thus, we have untiled the thing so that the effect produced by these mantras and the ceremony can be distributed to all over the world. Next slide. Now, what is done is the priests give benediction. That is, it is all the people stand and they practically pray. They initially facing the priest, and he blesses all those participants. Let's say in order to live, let's say 100 years. And then all the participants and the priest pray for the benefit of the whole world. That is every being, not only the earth, but also the plants, that is Urdham Jigadu Beshajam. Let all the plants, that's especially the Aushadhis, come upwards, and also for all the beings having 4-footed or 2-footed or whatever it be. Let every beings be happy and none suffer in all the 3 worlds. And following that, it is mentioned Shanti, Shanti, Shanti 3 times. That is, one has to be free from all the sources of misery. It can be called Adi Bhaudigam, that is the material things, Adi Devigam, that is the divine interventions, and Adhyatmigam, that is we have produced by ourselves. All these 3, from let everybody be free from all these 3. That is Shanti is chanted 3 times. Next slide. Now, we'll mention this, go to the clairvoyant study of the Gayatri Mantra chanting. As we know that there's in December 25 January, the 21 January, the Bharat Samaj Puja was inaugurated. When J. Krishnamurti was doing the puja, the great clairvoyant at that time, that's of Theosophical Society, Bishop C.W. Leadbeater, that's used his clairvoyant powers to observe what is happening during the puja. That's he knew that he said he has described it in detail. A wonderful thought form created step by step during the ceremony is described with colorful photos, and it was published in the Bharat Dharma of the particular issue, the issue number 2 of volume 1. And when Gayatri is chanted, it produces a unique effort. That is, from the highest logos, a beam of light comes to the aura of the person who, the pujari, and it is immediately that practically goes into 7 streams and goes to the causal body. That is the individual principle of everybody assembled there, depending on their ray types. So that is a wonderful ceremony. He has described that. C.W. Leadbeater has described the similar things of what happens during the use of incense in the church ceremonies, and also the use of colors and each and every mantras when chanted. What is the type of the materials being added to the thought forms? All these things are mentioned. And we can see the effect that's of chanting Gayatri, which was described in the book. Next slide. So this is what I have mentioned. And Brother Shikar has particularly added one more slides, which is available to him. That is to see this. That is, from the solar logos, a beam of light directly comes to the pujari, and it is distributed to in the 7 ray types to all the people who are assembled there. And that is one of the beautiful slides available here. Next slide. Next is this is a side view of the thought form that's created when the puja was conducted. That is this is mainly up to the mental. There's a element. But beyond that, the aura is so wide. It is mentioned that it lasts for miles and miles far. That is the description by C.W. Leadbeater. When we see at this thing, we can see some of the shape of the temples and churches being built at this level, this form, because those who can see clairvoyantly has seen that earlier and decided that a church should or the temple should be like this. Next slide is the direct frontal view of the temple thought form. The temple you can see there, the below, and the thought form, when added, it becomes so beautiful. Next slide. So I want to mention that if one knows the philosophy, it is not surprising that the ceremony which is established is a thanksgiving function to the higher beings who have created man. It is quite natural that man is giving oblation to 5 sorts of beings. That is their physical parents, the Buddhas, the Devas, Pidras, and also the Acharya or preceptors. These are the 5. And they practically represents, the parents represent the physical level, Buddhas at the emotional level, Devas practically at the mental level. Yes, Pidris are the practically the controllers of our astro-mental remains, and Acharyas, they practically represents the highest being in us, that is the Kumaras. Then those who are gone beyond the ceremonies in evolution, ceremonies may not be necessary, but understanding the ceremony improves your capacity to participate in it. So studying a ceremony in depth and particularly trying to integrate it with the philosophy and what it intends to be, particularly helps us in participating in all ceremonies and particularly contributing our own emotional and thought form in creating the big thought form. So I am thankful to all this for giving me this opportunity. And if time permits, we can have 1 or 2 questions.
Thank you. A lot of thanks, Dr. M.A.Raveendran, for such interesting and enlightening explanation of the ritual that many of us do, either on a daily or weekly basis. And I am sure our delegates and participants from all over India may be having many questions or queries, but just before, and we are going to take up any queries, but just to tell all our delegates that this is just a very in short, Dr. M.A.Raveendran has explained. If you want to see the live puja, it will be live telecast on 1st of May, 6 a.m. live from Adyar, and the significance of the structure of the temple and the puja will be live streamed at 6 p.m. 1st May in the evening. So don't forget to watch that also. And now we would invite our participants, if they have any queries, comments, or anything to say about this, please, you can raise your hand and we can invite you to share your views. Yes, Taral Munshi ji, yes, please.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
रविंद्रन जी, पहले तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आपने बहुत सारे डाउट्स खोल दिए। आपकी जो लास्ट स्लाइड्स थी उसमें ऑब्लेशन करके थैंक्सगिविंग वाली स्लाइड, उसमें एक शब्द था ऑब्लेशन, इसका मतलब मैंने तुरंत ट्रांसलेशन करके देखा तो यज्ञ होता है, तो क्या ये उससे रिलेटेड है या क्या है? मुझे थोड़ा सा समझ में।
Sir, Taral, can you speak? Okay.
Okay, I will speak in English, definitely. The last slides of Thanksgiving, there was a word called oblation, which in dictionary it means yagna. So I just wanted you to highlight that point and clear it on myself. Thank you.
It is a daily ritual in the life of every Hindu to give that's a oblation to all these beings in their daily life. Practically the Buddhas, practically we represents all the living beings that's outside. That's we have to give food to them. That is and then we are doing the ceremonies. That's Gayatri. That's our Sandhya ritual in the for the water and using fire for the Pidris. And we practically that's give all the comforts and practically give everything to our parents. And practically we have to practically obey the orders of our preceptor guru in day-to-day life. But actually, this means that we are doing sadhas that's occasionally once a year, but actually this is meant in Cancer. There's a Karkadagam, the month of Cancer. We do the sadha for all our parents, preceptors, but actually it is meant to the solar and lunar pitris rather than our physical parents, because in a seen at a higher dimension. So day-to-day life, every day we have to remember this thing before doing any work. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Raveendran. And now we have Brother Chandrasekharan. Chandrasekharan, you want to ask something?
Yeah, thank you for that very, very interesting and very accurate talk. I must say that this is something which is the first time I've heard so much in detail. My question is that in these times, it is not possible to do the puja together in a group. Is it possible? What is the effect if you do it alone? Is my question.
Sir, the puja can be done that's in every home. It takes only 20 minutes to do the puja when to do it in your house, because you have to remember this thing and arrange certain things in order to inside this. But even without that, you can go through the whole the process mentally. That also is possible.
Okay.
That's you can do it. That's closing your eyes. You can sit in a meditation and do the whole aspect of puja mentally. That also gives to some extent the same effect, because all pujas are practically there's a concern to develop our astral and mental bodies and to stimulate our buddhi aspect. So practically it is possible if it is done with real intent, even without any other things. It is possible. So it is not difficult. It can be. There are people who do sit every day. Practically, I used to do it for nearly for 1 year. The situation was like this. It takes nearly 25 minutes for me to reach my hospital in the morning. So practically, people think that I am sleeping in the bus or in my vehicle, and practically I was doing it mentally. That is how I studied the whole thing.
Okay. So I have one more question. You made a reference to the secret doctrine and some reference to the Bharat Samaj Puja. Is that understanding correct? And if it is correct, can you elaborate a bit on this? Thank you.
That's the thing is, man is a microcosm. How he is created in the sacred doctrine. He is created in a particular fashion. That's using practically all the beings and the hierarchies. That is a term used in sacred doctrines. So practically, it is symbolically represented in terms of the dhoba, fire, water, diva, and other things, flowers. So practically, it is the same message which is given. So what is given in the sacred doctrine, cosmogenesis, not cosmogenesis, anthropogenesis. In the same pattern, a man is created in the puja also, because it is step by step, one by one. Because many times our resistance is that we think that dehi deha bhavam. We think that dehi is one and deha is one composite whole. It comes and takes possession of that. It is not so. It's a bit more complicated thing. Everything in the heaven has to be united in order to make man. This is the most difficult process. That is how it took for a long time for the man to be created. In sacred doctrine, you can say even after the animals were created, it took nearly 250 million years practically to create man, because somebody has to provide a mind to encompass the whole world. It was not in the possession of the earthly hierarchy. So somebody from outside helped man. Practically, it is said that those beings from Venus, who was advanced in evolution, practically came to Earth and established the hierarchy, which we know as our inner teachers, the Shambhala and the inner teachers, and they have practically helped us to develop our intuitional mind, so that man becomes immortal and he becomes almost equal to the Lord.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Raveendran. And I think maybe that also sums up the thing that in Hindu religion or Sanatan religion, it is said that human body is a residence of so many devas.
Yep.
So
Sir.
each and every organ of ours is a deva residing, which may be having this meaning that all the other hierarchies of devas of different classes have contributed to make us. So we have to thank them. That is called yagna or sacrifice.
Yes.
And now we are going to take comment from Samrajyam Amma, and after that Sharma ji from Ujjain. So Samrajyam.
Rajam from Bombay.
And Rajamji also.
Yes.
Acha, okay, after that we'll take from Dr. Rajam ji also from Bombay. Yes. Samrajyam ji, unmute yourself.
Good evening, everybody. Mine is a basic question. Earlier in Bhopal, when the gas problem occurred, and the Homam saved one family there, few families. So here you said the aura just extends miles and miles away.
Yes.
So with this, our puja at this crucial stage, can we help the community with our puja? That's what I want to know, because there's a lot of havoc is going on, and can we help with our puja to the people? That's what I want to know.
Definitely, madam. It is possible, because they had some practical effort of that, because in a certain lodges where there was practically disputes were there with the neighbors and so many other things. Practically they started doing these pujas. It is wonderful to see that all these people outside who are quarreling also came and joined for the pujas, and there was a harmony. We cannot explain that easily. A harmony is established spontaneously between people, because when they have some common thing to share, practically there is a little time to quarrel. And people may not be in a state to understand the aura, but one thing is very important, because if we have got a body, we practically understand it in terms of our emotion, thought, or intuition, like that. So if somebody feels that he feels good, he can understand something in the presence of something else, it is an excellent thing. See, for example, you might have noticed when I was attending Krishnaji's talks in Vasanta Vihar, practically it was a real opportunity. We think that we have understood everything he says, but on returning, when we have crossed the Adayar river, we find that we are drained. See, that is a situation. In a special atmosphere of creation, of the special effect of mantras and the incense and all these things, people can be made comfortable, and it spreads harmony. It is true. We can help. Thank
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, I would like to add to this that we read that when the puja was done in Adyar with Jai Krishnamurti and many people, the effect, the influence of the puja extended up to Burma. Up to another country, like thousands of miles. So even though at present we are alone at our home, at least the family members, if they do together, they can create some positivity, some cheerfulness, and dispel the times of fear at present. So please, those who can do this puja at home, continue to do that with your family members. There is no special priest required. There is no foundation, men, women, children, anybody can do that. So please do it. And now, Dr. Rajam, please, you wanted to ask something?
I am Rajam Pillai from Bombay, and I'm audible.
Yes, yes.
And I have studied in Arya Samaj school, Dayananda Balika Vidyalaya, and every Saturday we were doing Havan. So all the mantras that or the rituals that you said, to me it looked like a micro form of the Havan that we did. Idam Varunaya, Idam Namama, Idam Mitraya, Idam Namama, plus the end. So can we say it's not only Sanatan Dharma versus Arya Samaj, but Indian Samaj or Indian culture? Is it the same?
So these our mantras were selected by Pandit Mahadev Shastri and Annie Besant, because all the mantras may not be necessary as doing an extensive form of ritual. It can be shortened by using the apt mantras for the particular situation. So all, because every an extensive, we know that the ceremonials that's last for weeks, sometimes for days. All these things are there, but this is something a condensed form in which the essence is preserved. That is the essence of the things. That is why I have mentioned the essence is practically going through our own constitution.
No, because sorry, in our social environment, Sanatan Dharma and Arya Samaj are supposed to be somewhere not exactly agreeing to each other. So when we say Sanatan Dharma,
it is obvious that the Arya Samaj practically interprets everything that's going to the Vedas, and the interpretation of the alone is accepted in Arya Samaj. That is why we separated from them. That's after a very short union. If you know the history of Theosophical Society, Theosophical Society joined with Arya Samaj initially, but we separated because of that.
Okay, brother Sharmaji from Ujjain, you wanted to ask something? Sharmaji from Ujjain?
Yes, namaskar. While chanting this Naivedya mantra, Pranaya Swaya, Apana Swaya, why in slow wise? Another thing is why not anything on forehead while performing this puja? Nothing should be there in our forehead, any cloth or any cap, etc.
The slanting slowly, it is actually a meditation. You are practically meditating. So that is why it is chanted very slowly, and all our pranas. There is something called the prana vidya, because in a temple, what Pujari does is he takes part of his prana and practically give to the temple deity. So similarly, we ask the Lord to be born in the water, Deva Savida Prasuva, and practically we also contribute our own prana to have it happen. So practically it is actually a meditation, a very deep meditation in which there's a prana is practically transferred to the consecrated water. It is the mysterious process by which a temple deity is consecrated. So that is why it is done very slowly and in a very, very solemn manner. The details are beyond my capability to explain.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Raveendran.
Hello.
Hello, Hariyar Raghavan ji, brother Hariyar Raghavan, please.
I'm somewhat well. I listened to the whole program. My voice has come back, I suppose. One sister from Bombay, somebody said about the Arya Samaj. Sister, please remember that in those days when there was no congregational puja for the Hindus, Pandit Mahadeva Shastri and other people spent a lot of time in selecting certain mantras which are vital and also bringing in theosophical concepts. Sanatana Dharma is not Hindu culture or anything. It is an ancient, endless religion. Nobody knows when it was born. If you study deeply the Bharat Samaj, with Bharat Samaj Puja, you'll find out that the entire universe, the cosmos is within you. So this puja is mainly meant for thanksgiving and also offering oneself. And also, there is no restriction for anybody to perform puja. But the thing is, a man who wants to do puja should be mentally and emotionally pure. That's what is required. Moreover, this doesn't require a priest or dakshina or something like that. You got about 1 rupee worth tulsi leaf and water and some incense and some camphor, you can do everything. So it is only proper that all the Hindus and not the Hindus, people who came from this land of riches, resort to this, because as Dr.M.A.Raveendran has stated, so many mantras are there, so many rituals are standing for years, Rudra, Maharudra, but all these are not practicable nowadays. So what is essential? The first thing is and also thanksgiving and also lifting our hearts in supplication to the great universal entity so that your life will be purified and we all will become partakers of the progress of human being and understanding unity. That is the whole concept of Bharat Samaj.
Thank you so much, Brother Harihar Raghavanji, for your valuable inputs. And we all know that you are not completely well, but we thank you for joining and giving your inputs. And we all wish for your speedy recovery. And now we are running out of time. One last comment. Okay, we have Brother Shinde also who wants to say something.
No, I want to congratulate Harihar Raghavan as well as the Raveendran, because this talk Raveendran gave excellent and Harihar Raghavan heard it. And see, we are very happy to listen to Harihar Raghavan at this time. This is the effect, how it works throughout the atmosphere. Thank you very much, Raveendran and Harihar Raghavan and Shikharji also.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
My voice will come back in full very soon. Oh.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. And one last comment from anyone, and then we move on to closing. Anybody would like to say anything?
Yeah, I would like to recommend.
Yes, Colonel Kailashi, please. Yes.
I would like to recommend all these interested participants to read the book which is published on the subject, and it gives the details how the research was carried out on each of the mantras and what is the effect on the ground. JW Ledbetter has given those remarks. I recommend that we all read it. It will be very useful.
Thank you.
Which book?
Sanatana Dharma Puja.
Thank you.
Okay. I think once Rajiv Mataji also raised hand.
This book should be.
Yes.
Hi, Shikharji. Rajivji, you raised hand once. Do you want to share in something?
Okay, so we are reaching the end of this session. And first of all, we would like to thank very heartily to Dr.M.A.Raveendran, who presented a very, very interesting, deep and meaningful subject in a very lucid and easy to understand form for all our brothers and sisters, who we also thank. We thank everyone who contributed to make this session a very useful and very inspiring and dynamic event. And we also want to thank our technical support team and Brother Taral Munshi for this help that he gives us every day. He's always ready to help in every aspect. So thank you very much. And before closing, we want to make a remind again about the event Bharat Samaj Puja that is going to take place on 1st May, live from Theosophical Society at Yard. As we have already mentioned, there will be 2 sessions, one in the morning and one in the evening. So kindly join us for that important event. There will be also a live transmission in the Theosophical Society at Yard channel on YouTube. So you also can join using that media. So to close our today's inspiring program with all this knowledge that we have acquired today.
Thank you, Doctor.
Memorable evening.
Thank you, Dr.M.A.Raveendran, for the excellent presentation. Everybody.
Close your eyes. To make a prayer with all the willpower and concern for the welfare of all beings, especially during this present global situation. So we will sit, or we will put ourselves in a comfortable position, closing our eyes and putting all our love and good thoughts. May all be prosperous and happy. May all be free from illness. May none fall ill. May all see auspiciousness everywhere. May none ever feel sorrow. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So now we are ending our live broadcasting in YouTube, and whoever wants to share any other input or share some word with our dear Dr. Raveendran, please feel free. For a couple of minutes, we will have the mics open, and then we will end today's session. Once more, thanks to brothers and sisters from India and other parts of the world that we are seeing here from other parts of the world that have joined today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the mics are open in case you want to share.
Thank you once again, Raveendran ji. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Katrina.
Thank you, Raveendran sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Raveendran ji. Really excellent.